Previously on Algebra 2 Notes with Mr. Brasser. We were doing example 2 with these three angles that I had to draw, 45 degrees, 315 degrees, 405 degrees. Hopefully you came to a conclusion that I was aiming for, that they all end up being like the exact same. Well, not the exact same. I mean, they have different sizes, they have different signs, but they ended up being the exact same spot. Well, we have a name for that. So the name we're going to give for that is on this next slide here. So we're going to call them coterminal angles. Coterminal angles are angles, duh. So they're angles that share initial and terminal sides. One added piece of information I want you to add here is I'm going to say size and sign don't matter. Goodness gracious, talking's hard. So going back to the previous one, if you need a few seconds to jot this definition down, feel free to pause it. I'm going to talk about the previous example a second. These three angles, 45 degrees, 315 degrees, 405 degrees, are the exact same, or have the exact same initial and terminal sides. But they have different sizes, they have different signs. Like 45 clearly the smallest, 405 clearly the largest. But really thinking about 405 degrees, if I were to redraw that angle there. So it goes 360 degrees, and then we're back to where we started, and then we just went 445 more degrees. If I were to draw just like the size of that angle, the degree, or on negative 315 degrees, that small angle would be 45 degrees. And well, 45 degrees is 45 degrees. We're going to talk about some shortcuts for how we can calculate that. Taking a look at example 3 here. We're asked to give three measures of angles that are coterminal with the given angle. So the first one we're going to do is 30 degrees. So let's draw that. 30 degrees, there's my initial side. 30 degrees is 1/3 of the way, so approximate that. So like if half is here, a third I'm going to say is about there. It's not perfect. In fact, I'm going to draw it a little bit bigger. But again, the best way to prove that that is a 30-degree angle is to label it. Even if somebody measures it and be like, it's 29.7. Nah, shut up, it's 30 degrees. Sorry, that was rude, but I think you get my point. Now, to figure out coterminal angles, there's one shortcut that I would suggest. Kind of going back a second to that 405-degree angle. You'll notice, again, I went 360 degrees and then just added 45 degrees. Or I could think about it the other way. I can do 45 degrees plus 360 degrees. So I'm going to take 30 degrees here and add 360 degrees to it. So it's kind of like if I were to take this 30-degree angle here and then just draw a full circle. Let me actually change it to blue. I'm just going to start from that side and add another full circle. So I'm really adding 360 degrees and I end up at the same spot. So 390 degrees works. Now I'm going to get rid of that a second. If you drew on your paper, that's okay. What if I were to go backwards? What if I were to take 30 degrees and go backwards 360 degrees? I end up at the same spot. Well, we could also say, starting off with the initial side and going in this direction, it's like we're subtracting 360 degrees. So we could do 30 degrees minus 360 degrees, which would give us negative 330 degrees. Folks, these are just two examples. I asked for three different measures that are coterminal. Well, folks, you can add and subtract as many times, or 360, there we go, as many times as you want. So like if I were to say 30 degrees plus 720 degrees. So that'd be like 360 degrees plus another 360 degrees. So that would end up giving us 750 degrees. You can keep going over and over and over. Like I could also do 30 degrees minus that 720 degrees. Again, that's just 360 times 2, which would give us negative 690 degrees. And I could add or subtract 360 from each of those and keep going and keep going. There are literally an infinite number of coterminal angles. Now, if I were in person, I would probably emphasize what I'm about to emphasize, but I'd probably be ruder about it. I would say there are literally an infinite number of answers to these coterminal angles. Don't be annoying. Now, typically when I teach this in person, I point out somebody in class that I say, don't be annoying, so-and-so. So I'm going to say, like, pretend Mr. Fay is in my class. Don't be annoying, Mr. Fay, and add 360 1,000 times. Actually, that wouldn't be the worst. But, like, some people I've seen on quizzes and tests, they add 360 degrees, like, 7 times. And then I actually have to go through and check all the answers. And it's just annoying. So if you're asked to, on some sort of assessment, which I'm not doing right now, but if you're asked in some sort of assessment to give a coterminal angle, be reasonable. Maybe add 360 once or twice. Maybe subtract 360 once or twice. 3 times, sure. 4 times, you're getting annoying. Don't be annoying. On example 3, for these other two, I'd like you to take a moment, see if you can come up with 2 other angle measures that are coterminal. 3 other angle measures that are coterminal with the angle that you have in play. I would strongly suggest drawing the angle first and then going from there. Obviously, you all paused it, so I'm going to go and take negative 190 degrees, draw it. So here's my initial side. Negative 190, so negative 90, negative 180, 10 more degrees, not very large. Whoops, that didn't work. Let's try this again. And again, folks, it's not going to be perfect, and that's okay. To make it perfect, just label it. So, a couple things for negative 190 degrees. If I added 360 to it, negative 190 plus 360 degrees gives us positive 170 degrees. If we were to subtract 360 from it, we'd end up with negative 550 degrees. If you were to add or subtract another 360 from that, you'd be at negative 910, getting ahead of myself, degrees. Folks, there are a lot of other answers. I would say the other quote-unquote more reasonable answer, I would say, would be positive 530. Sometimes I question my mental math. Those are 4 options. I would say those are the 4 quote-unquote best options, because those are just adding 360 or adding 720 or subtracting 360 or subtracting 720. Be reasonable. Don't be annoying, Mr. Fay. Positive 410 degrees. One thing I strongly suggest drawing these angles, because sometimes drawing the angles themselves can already help you figure out a coterminal angle. So if I draw 410 degrees, that's 360 degrees plus another 50 degrees. You'll notice the terminology I just used there. I said plus another 50 degrees. So, well, 50 degrees is already a coterminal angle. That's it. If I were to add 360 to that, I would end up at, well, that's 410. If I were to add 360 to 410 degrees, we'd be at 770. If I were to subtract 360 from 410, well, that's actually the 50 degrees we just got. If I were to subtract another 360, we'd be at negative 310 degrees. Could subtract another 360. Just don't. Try to keep it within reason. Try to keep it within 720, please, and thank you.